1923 Season 2, Episode 6, was action-packed and filled with major character deaths, all of which are worth breaking down. 1923 Season 2 story has seen its characters moving around the country, as Spencer and Alex Dutton have been moving closer to Montana while Tiona Rainwater has fled further away. Meanwhile, the Duttons have withstood a ruthless winter while anticipating an assault from Donald Whitfield and Banner Creighton. Episode 6 finally saw some of these events come together, resulting in a bloodbath, with Episode 7 set to be even worse. Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone prequel is believed to be ending after Season 2, and recent announcements showed that Episode 7 will be the finale. With only one episode left in 1923, all the show's narratives need to reach their climax soon. Luckily, the Season 2 finale is set to be an extended release, coming in at a movie-length runtime. Not to mention, Episode 6 took plenty of pieces off the board, leaving only the central characters left for the ending. Episode 6 saw 7 total deaths of notable characters. 6. Marshall Kent. Killed by Father Renault. Marshall Kent, Jamie McShane, holding a gun while riding a horse in 1923 Season 2, Episode 1. Marshall Kent was Father Renault's traveling companion in the search for Tiona Rainwater, and the pairing made for an almost Cormac McCarthy-like Western horror duo. After 1923 Season 2, Episode 5 cliffhanger ending, Episode 6 opened with the reveal that Marshall Kent had killed Pete Plentyclouds in their shootout, and this is where Renault drew the line. While clearly on a vicious mission of his own, Renault had proven to be the slightly more stable of the two, with Marshall Kent being far more ruthless and murderous. This difference eventually led to Marshall Kent's demise. In Episode 6, we see Father Renault confront Kent after killing Pete Plentyclouds, as neither of them knew Pete had any link to Tiona. Renault expresses that their mission was to bring justice to a girl but that Kent had continuously murdered boys and men. Renault accuses Kent of being an evil murderer, and Kent approaches him to continue the argument, but Renault quickly pulls out his gun and shoots him. He fires 3 bullets, ensuring that Kent is dead, before leaving him behind. 5. Pete Plentyclouds. Killed by Marshall Kent. Season 2, Episode 5 ended on a massive cliffhanger as Marshall Kent and Father Renault discovered Pete Plentycloud searching for water on behalf of Tiona and runs his horse. Despite not knowing who Pete was, Marshall Kent's bloodlust continued, with the series revealing that Pete was the one to suffer a mortal wound in the encounter. When Father Renault questioned Kent about why he killed Pete, Kent declared that it was because he ran, apparently decreeing him guilty in Kent's rule of law. Pete has been through a lot since departing from his home, and it's clear that he was willing to do a lot to keep Tiona safe. His death was tragic, but ultimately, it showed Kent's true colors to Renault, forcing him to reckon with the madman he'd been working with. Renault killed Kent after the fact, which ultimately gave Tiona a fighting chance when the headmaster approached her later on the night. Pete's death was upsetting to watch, but his sacrifice wasn't in vain. 4. Runs his horse. Killed by Father Renault. Runs his horse 1923. Runs his horse was the tribal leader of the Broken Rock Reservation, a title that would one day be fulfilled by Thomas Rainwater. He's also the father of Tiona Rainwater, whom he spends Season 2 traveling to protect, ultimately giving his life for her without even a fighting chance. After finding Pete and Kent's bodies, Runs his horse was convinced that he and his daughter were safe and decided to start a fire for comfort. Sadly, this choice led Renault straight to them and Runs his horse was quickly killed. 1923 Season 2, Episode 6 ending sees Tiona Rainwater finally catch a bit of luck, with Father Renault's empty magnum providing her the opportunity to strike. She draws her knife and viciously attacks Renault, stabbing him several times and then shooting him dead. After 2 seasons, Tiona Rainwater has finally liberated herself from his control and the abuse at the boarding school. Sadly, it cost her nearly everything she had, and she's terribly far from home. Episode 7 could show a glimpse at her future, showing how Thomas Rainwater might become her descendant. 2. Paul and Hilary. Killed by bad weather. Paul and Hilary 1923. Paul and Hilary were the pleasant British couple whom Alex met on her train from New York City to Chicago, and they were beginning to become some of the show's most likable characters. After the violent incident on the train, Paul and Hilary vouched for Alex, clarifying that it was self-defense so she could be allowed to walk free. Their kindness continued when they found her at Episode 5's end, waiting at the Chicago train station after discovering that the ride to Fargo had been cancelled, preventing her from carrying on to Montana. Paul and Hilary became quick friends with Alex Dutton, even offering her a ride in their car. Unfortunately, there was good reason for the trains to Fargo to be shut down. Winter might be over in Texas, but it's still raging in the north, and matters quickly took a turn for the worst. Alex woke up in the car to find Hilary dead. Paul had attempted to walk away, but the frigid weather took him too, leaving Alex alone in the freezing cold with no hope in sight. Episode 7 will see if she finally reunites with Spencer.